Now continuing with the Attorney General candidates, I'd like to ask the Honorable State Representative Carlos Lopez Cantero to come up to introduce the next speaker.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you all doing this morning? Great. You know, it's my pleasure to stand up here today and introduce the next presenter for candidate for Attorney General. For the past 6 years, I've been a member of the Florida House, where I have served with, during my time, I've served with Holly Benson, I've served with the Lieutenant Governor Jeff Kottkamp, I've served with Esteban Vogel, and yes, I've served with Rene Garcia. Yay! And Marco Rubio. Yay! But the person I'm about to introduce has never served in public office. She has been a prosecutor for 18 years, prosecuting cases that range from misdemeanor all the way to murder, and convicting people for those crimes throughout those 18 years. She has too many endorsements to list, and she's been a member of too many organizations to list, because if I listed them all, I would be up here longer than Steve Vogel was. I'm just going to get right to it so she can tell you about herself. I'd like to introduce, it's my honor to introduce, who I hope will be the next Attorney General for the state of Florida, Pam Bondi.
Thank you all so much for having me here this morning. And I'm so honored. We just announced our Social Conservatives for Bondi list, and it's a very, very lengthy list, so you can go on our website and see that, but we're proud to have many, many great members on that list. And also, I'm very pleased to have Stanley Tate here today, and the support of Al Cardenas, who is one of my statewide leaders, and Representative Lopez Cantero, thank you so much for everything. Thank you. And to Representative Eric Friesen, you all look amazing. Thank you. Thank you. You know, last night I was in Walton County speaking to a group, and we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and we sat down, and a gentleman sitting next to me at the Lincoln Day dinner, I was a keynote speaker, who's 86 years old, leaned into me and said about himself, you know, in my lifetime, there's going to come a point when we're not going to be allowed to say the Pledge of Allegiance. How frightening is that? And that's what's happening in our country now. Recently, I was very blessed. I was asked to give the commencement speech at my high school, the IB program. I went to a very big public high school, and I gave the speech at the commencement dinner for the IB program. There were about 700 people there, and I tried to give a very inspirational speech, and I got up and talked about what everyone can do and their future and the positive things, and then I felt compelled to say, I said, you know, I've gone through very difficult times in my life, and I'm certain you will. But one thing that has gotten me through life is my faith and my prayer, my belief in God, not knowing how the audience would react. This group of about 600 people started clapping. Then after I sat down after my speech, one of the top administrators leaned into me and said, thank you for saying that, because we can't. That's true. I'm also very blessed to have been a legal expert for Fox News for the past almost decade. I say 6 years, but it's been much, much longer than that. And the areas that I will focus on, because your Attorney General is your chief legal officer for the state of Florida, not your chief politician. And for 18 years, all the crimes, all the issues you'll hear General McCollum talk about, I've handled. Identity theft cases, fraud cases, drug cases, cases involving our children as victims, cases involving our elderly as victims, and I handle first-degree murders. I've worked hand-in-hand with the AG's office on my appeals, on my murder and death penalty cases, and I know the value of an Attorney General's opinion. An Attorney General's opinion can affect the stock market, and it can put a business out of business. I've also helped manage and supervise the largest law firm in Tampa for over a decade, 130 lawyers, 340 employees. I am running to protect us and to protect our state. Public safety is one of my main issues. Also, our Constitution, and we are under attack right now. In D.C., Our President and Speaker's spending is out of control, our spiraling debt is out of control, and Obama and Pelosi are out of control. And I will fight for our constitutional rights. We now have, there are so many lawsuits pending that are going to fall in the hands of your next Attorney General. Number one is pending right now in our appellate courts, the ban on gay marriage. I am committed to taking that to the Supreme Court. Secondly, the protecting our borders. I will fight to protect our borders, and I will also fight to protect our good legal immigrants who came to our country. I will also fight to protect our beaches, our tourism industry, our restaurants, our charter fishermen, with everything that's happened in the BP oil crisis. And I will take on the federal government in this healthcare lawsuit. I take on murderers, and I will take on the federal government. I have spent 20 years practicing law. This is the most divisive, expansive entitlement program ever produced in our country, and it ignores decades of legal precedent. I will also focus on the economy, and I will help our businesses grow jobs instead of punishing them with regulations. I want to hit the ground running. I've been looking at a program in Oregon, which is an amazing program, to help streamline regulations for our businesses. That's very important. I've also been in the history of the Florida Chamber of Commerce. I'm the only Attorney General candidate that they have ever endorsed, and I'm very blessed to have that endorsement. I've also been endorsed by Associated Industries of Florida, Associated Builders and Contractors, the Miami Herald, the Tampa Tribune, the St. Pete Times, and the Orlando Sentinel. As a member of the Cabinet, I will apply my conservative principles to all that I do, and I will not waste our taxpayers' money. As a member of the State Board of Administration, the fourth largest pension fund in our country, I will be a watchdog over your money. I have spent 20 years protecting consumers, and I will protect your funds. I am a fourth-generation Floridian. I come from a long line of educators. My political heroes, Jeb Bush, Ronald Reagan. My personal heroes, my amazing family, who come from a long line of educators. And last night, I have to throw this in, my parents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. Unfortunately, I had to miss it. I am pro-life, and I was endorsed by the Susan B. Anthony list out of Washington, D.C., and I'm very blessed about that. I am pro-Second Amendment, and I can shoot a gun better than any guy I know. I 18 years with deputies, so I will continue to do that. I do not see this as a stepping stone. I see this as your chief legal officer. I am not running for governor. We have plenty of good folks to be governor here. I am not running to be a congresswoman. I am not running to be a senator. I want to be the best attorney general I can be for you for the next 8 years if you'll have me. You know, 2 years ago, I would have said you were crazy that I would ever run for political office. But I deeply, deeply care about our state. If you had asked me 10 years ago, I'd say I'd be home with 5 little kids right now. But I don't think that was God's plan for me, and life doesn't always work out the way you plan. I am blessed now, my fiance's here, and I'm so blessed to be engaged to the most wonderful physician who does missionary work. He is an amazing man. And his wife passed away 9 years ago, and when I started dating him, his kids were in their teens and early 20s. So now I've ended up with 4. So God works in unexplainable ways. And just because of the Christian book, there's a book called Unexplainable by Dan Cousins. And it just tells how God works in your life when you least expect it in mysterious ways. And it's just amazing. And I'll tell you, one of my opponents and his allies have participated in personal vicious attacks and rumors in which I will not participate. So I will continue to pray. Please pray for me, and please pray for my opponents. I do as well. And the verse that I focus on is Proverbs 15:1. And that, I will tell you, if I am blessed to be Attorney General, I will not be outworked, I will not be outlawyered, and I will not be outdone in defense of you. Thank you very much for having me.